Today is a really special day. For the very first time on this channel, I am featuring my Warlock. I know, crazy, right? So today we're going to look at a build that I have been crafting over the last few weeks, have been really enjoying, and I am super excited to share with you guys. And as much as I wanted this build to work on my Hunter, my Warlock had all the answers. So today we're going to talk about the build that I have named Nezarec's Chosen. I know, sounds edgy, right? Well, as edgy as it sounds, it is even more potent. And that's because we'll be taking advantage of a number of things in this build, including Devour for crazy survivability, volatility, and other damage buffs as well. So let's break it down one element at a time, starting kind of broadly and then narrowing things down. This entire build is predicated on Echo of Instability, or in other words, getting volatile rounds. If you're unfamiliar, volatile rounds is a delightful buff to your void weapons that makes targets explode on death and even periodically while under fire. And then that spreads volatility and just wreaks havoc. Echo of Instability demands that you get grenade kills to proc volatile rounds, so you can probably already see the framework for this build. So let's start from the top down with our exotics, and then we'll break it down by purpose, regen mods, proccing the build, that sort of thing. And one last thing before we start, feel free to check out and give this build a try for yourself and fit it in with your loadout with a dim link in the description. I will have that posted there so it's nice and easy. And also my Discord, there's a link for that in the description too. If you have any more questions, I will answer them personally. You should definitely join. Anyway, so first, the chosen part of Nezarec's Chosen. Traveler's Chosen is one of my favorite exotics. It's an excellent sidearm with great traits to back it up. The exotic perk states that final blows with this weapon grant stacks of gathering light. Then you hold X, or whatever your reload button is, to consume those stacks, granting melee, grenade, and class ability energy based on the number of stacks that you have. Now these stacks can stack all the way up to 10 and give you 10% ability energy per stack. Not like Wellspring that spreads it out, it's per ability. So if you have 10 stacks of Gathering Light, you'll instantly restore all of your abilities, which is really awesome. Now maybe you're wondering at this point, hey stupid, that's great and all, but Traveler's Chosen is a kinetic that doesn't help you with volatile rounds for a void build, and that would be correct. However, there's this tiny little perk that you might have missed if you haven't looked at Traveler's Chosen for a while on the Catalyst. Osmosis grants the elemental damage type of your subclass to the weapon that you're using, and since we're using our grenade all the time, Traveler's ends up working perfectly with our build anyway. Really nice and tidy. Let's keep it moving though and check out our exotic helmet, which really isn't a mystery at this point. Nezarec's Sin is an all-time classic Warlock exotic, so it's no surprise it fits into this build nicely. Simply enough, this exotic states that void damage kills increase ability energy recharge rates, and this can be void weapons or abilities, it doesn't really matter. This exotic is a big contributor to this build and how high our uptime is, or how often we can be throwing our grenades and melees, and even rifts if we need them. Void kills are happening all the time, so Nezarec's Sin is operating at full speed most of the time. So before we've even discussed any aspects or fragments or mods, we have both our exotic weapon and armor feeding really nicely into our build here with a lot of ability energy. We're only just getting started with this build though, so let's actually look at some of those mods now. So for the first part, we'll be really talking about armor mods mostly, then kind of moving into subclass fragments and aspects, and damage buffs and debuffs. So on my Void helmet, I run Void and Harmonic Siphon. These perks allow you to drop orbs on kinetic and void kills, which covers both states that you'll be using Traveler's Chosen in, since it can be both void and kinetic. Not only do these orbs feed into your super a little bit, but it's also another source of grenade energy and healing. You can achieve that effect by slotting Innervation and Recuperation onto your solar legs. Both are very cheap, but effective mods that'll heal and give grenade energy upon picking up an orb of power, which you should be dropping pretty often. So that's a good start, but we have plenty more to feed into ability energy, starting with Elemental Ordnance. It's another great mod that'll drop an elemental well each time you get a grenade kill here, which is something you'll be doing pretty often. That single well restores around 20% of your energy immediately, which is pretty handy. This build does have one kind of extra armor mod slot, so if you want to run Bountiful Wells, you can get 2 wells each grenade kill, and that would certainly help out. So the next mod I like to slot on is Impact Induction on your arms. Now maybe you'd rather just run Grenade Kickstart for the Stasis class, and that's understandable, but I thought it'd be more fun to use a variety of abilities to feed back into your grenade, so I went with Impact Induction, which grants a good amount of grenade energy upon dealing melee damage, which is pretty easy to do with Pocket Singularity as it's kind of ranged anyway. Another reason I chose Impact Induction is because it double dips into grenade energy if you pair it with Echo of Provision, which grants grenade energy after dealing melee damage. It's basically the same thing as the mod on your arms, but just on your subclass. So that stacks on really nicely and gives you a lot of grenade energy back just for doing a melee attack. Lastly, for ability regeneration, I like to slap on Distribution to my class items, so that's restoring a little bit to all my abilities whenever I cast a Rift in combat. It's not much, but it's something, and if you really want to commit, you can definitely run double bomber too. So hopefully you can see how crazy this build already is. Nezarec's Sin increases ability regen on any void kills, which you can get with your grenade or any void weapon. That grenade grants volatile rounds, which now work on your Osmosis Void infused Traveler's Chosen. Traveler's obviously gives back a ton of ability energy whenever you consume the stacks of light, but now your melee also restores a significant amount of grenade energy just for damaging combatants. Not to mention that you're instantly getting 1 or 2 wells of energy back into your abilities every time you get grenade kills. So that's a quick recap of where we are right now, but the build does not stop there. I wanted to make this build well-rounded and supremely destructive, and I've chosen all my mods and aspects here very carefully for that reason. So let's dig into the rest of the mods that are augmenting and amping up what we already have going, as well as how to proc more aspects of the build. So you might be wondering why I'm using Traveler's Chosen instead of just any Void primary with Demolitionist, and that would be a great question. I do have a couple reasons for that. Travelers feeds into all your abilities, as we've talked about, and those abilities feed back into more grenades, so we can use those sweet volatile rounds even more. But the second big reason is because it's a sidearm. Maybe the most obvious fact about it, but because it's a sidearm, we can use that tiny little 1 energy Void mod Surprise Attack. Surprise Attack states that readying or reloading your sidearm when charged with light grants charged shots to your sidearm that deal significantly more damage. I didn't do the exact match, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that it's 40%, which is quite a big buff. Now if you remember, we're using elemental wells for this build with elemental ordnance, so at this point I like to slap on elemental charge, which grants you 2 charges of light every time you pick up a well if it matches your subclass, which is how we activate Surprise Attack for our sidearm here. If you want to double up right there, you can also add Font of Might, which grants additional damage to your weapons that match the element of your subclass, in this case Void. This does work with Travelers because of Osmosis, since you just threw your grenade. So right there when you throw your grenade, you'll be getting 2 damage buffs to your primary, these do stack, as well as volatile rounds as long as you got a kill with that grenade, and a whole bunch of ability energy right back. But let's keep exploring the layers. We haven't even gotten to the aspects and fragments just yet. Feed the Void pairs perfectly with this build, granting Devour upon any Void ability kill, which restores your health anytime you get a kill after that. It also extends that timer. Then I just run Child of the Old Gods to have the additional fragment slot. I didn't think the charged grenades were worth the 1 fewer fragment slot, but this is wild. All those benefits I just mentioned with getting a grenade kill, and now we have the insane health regen of Devour on top of that. It's kind of hard to die sometimes. As long as you stay aggressive, you're going to be regenning your health constantly. And the fragments don't really slow down from here either. I like to run Undermining so enemies hit by grenades are weakened, which pairs really nicely with the 2 damage buffs you already have, as well as Expulsion, which is so good for clearing a room. Expulsion causes Void ability final blows to explode enemies, and it's just beautiful. A single grenade or melee can be enough to clear out a room sometimes with chaining Explosion. Lastly, of course, and I did mention this earlier, is Echo of Instability, so your grenade kills grant volatile rounds, and then Provision, which grants grenade energy anytime you deal melee damage. And that'll actually do it. That fully rounds out the build. All the important mods and stuff you should be running. Obviously, I think it's a good idea to run Under Discipline with this. It's just really great to have that grenade back as often as possible. And personally, I like to run Scatter Grenade because it deals good damage and gets the kill quickly. So just to recap things, put it all together in one place, put a nice bow on things, let's recap the flow of the build here. You start by throwing your grenade, which causes enemies to explode. You'll also get volatile rounds and an elemental well that restores some energy and provides an overall damage buff, plus a damage buff to your sidearm with Surprise Attack. Now, Traveler's Chosen deals Void damage, which also procs Nezarec's Chosen, restoring even more ability energy, alongside Traveler's Chosen exotic ability. By this point, you also have Devour, which is also restoring your health on every kill. While you're dealing massive and volatile damage with Traveler's Chosen, you can also throw out your melee and get extra grenade energy back with Impact Induction and Echo of Provision. And while you're getting those kills with Traveler's Chosen, you'll also be dropping orbs that you can pick up for more super energy, grenade, and healing as well. All the while, your grenade dealt a debuff to any tougher enemy that it didn't kill, so you're dealing even more damage if you want to use a heavy or something like that. And if you feel like it, you can always pop a Rift and use Double Bomber to get even more grenade energy back. So yeah, that's a pretty wild build. It's a lot of fun and it's really powerful. Hopefully by now those breakdowns and the footage have convinced you by now that it's a pretty solid build. If you enjoyed this build, please comment down below and like the video, as that does help a lot. These videos take a lot of thought and refinement, so I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. If you did, definitely subscribe to see more content like this, and if you want to voice your opinion on a more personal scale, I do have a small Discord you can join too. People ask questions and give input, and even video suggestions that I all answer personally. Definitely check that out. I love getting to interact with people over there. Link is in the description. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.